I'm going to create a level of fatherhood for my kids that has never existed in my mind or the minds of anybody that I know before. The transitional character is the man who notices the cycles. He sees them, and he devotes himself to putting in the work to shatter them in this life. Ultimately, our task here in this life is to break the curse with the father's lineage. But it is our responsibility as fathers to do as much of the work possible as is possible so that they don't have to do our work for us. That's the path. It's not through slaying the father, it's through redeeming the father. And looking back at my dad, wow, his dad died when he was 18. He had to provide for that whole little family. Man, yeah, I didn't get to play with him as much as I wanted to. I inherited this cycle of overworking that led me into anxiety and panic and disconnection with my wife and almost going down the same path of divorce. But man, how hard that must have been. This is why you can walk into a room with somebody and immediately know, I really like this guy. I don't know this person, but I trust this guy. You can also walk into a room with somebody and be like, I don't. You can create this safe harbor effect in your nervous system and help your whole house just feel good and safe and calm and be this safe space for them to come to with absolutely anything. That's the foundation. Or any of the TV sitcoms where dad is just the butt of the joke. He's the comedic relief. He's a doofus. He doesn't know how to do anything for himself. He doesn't know where the pots and pans are, can't make his own sandwich, can't get up off the couch. Like, this is the model of fatherhood that we were given. And this is
the Homer
still,
Simpson dad.
Exactly. This is still the model of fatherhood that's being portrayed in pop culture.
All right, Rob, Bill Jr., for people who do not know you, what's your personal journey that led you to becoming the uncommon dad?
Man, how much time do you have, right?
We got all day.
Well, let's go through it. Let's go through it step by step. And I think it's important that it's not just me that does this. I think it's important that every man who's listening to this, most especially if you're a father, that you sit with this, not my story, but your own as well. Because ultimately, our task here in this life is to break the curse. We can call it cycles, but the masculine is tasked with breaking the curse of the father's lineage. That's what we're here to do. And so I'm going to walk you through my story, and I want you to listen to it, obviously. But I want you to think about this in context of your story, too. And I was born in Chicago, Illinois, to two amazing parents. And really, yeah, I can't look back and say that my life was particularly hard in any way. I wouldn't say that there are capital T traumas. My parents got divorced when I was in second grade. Okay, so there's something. I was very small. And up until that point, I can remember on like 2 or 3 hands, not hands, I have one hand, 2 or 3 fingers, the amount of times that I really got to play with my dad, the amount of times he got down on the floor to play with me. And it's not because he was a bad dad. Guy was working multiple jobs just to make sure that we have everything that we needed. And then I'm sure that you and I'm sure that other men can relate to this, that when it is time for the weekend, well, then you have everything that you weren't able to work on during the week that you need to get done. You got projects around the house you need to get done. You got things in the backyard you need to get done. You have looking at your bank accounts, making sure your budget's good, all of this stuff that you can't be totally present with your kids. And so as an adult, I see that. This is part of our work to look back at these things. But as a kid, yeah, I remember 2 to 3 times that he really got on the ground and played with me. Man, I wanted more than that, looking back. But also at the same time, this is a man who, when he was 18, his father died, World War II veteran. And my dad had 4 younger siblings and his mom, who didn't work. And so my dad became the man of the house. And so he had to teach his mom how to drive. It was really on him to provide for the family the way that his dad did. This is his pattern. And that pattern carried through my childhood. And of course he's going to work hard then. I get that. So my parents got divorced when I was in second grade. My dad worked his ass off for us. Didn't get to play with him as much as I would have liked. And then, I get to see him once every couple of weeks and grow up primarily living with my mom, as a lot of boys do nowadays. A lot of feminine influence. And being in the 90s, mom would go to work, and a lot of the time I was just at home. I took care of myself as an only child, so it was just me and the television, as a lot of us got really acquainted with in the 90s. And I loved a couple of different things. I loved Warriors. I love Westerns. I love Knights above all else. I probably shouldn't have been watching Clint Eastwood, but I love Clint Eastwood Westerns. And I fell in love with this like stoic hero, this stoic archetype, like Blondie in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. This guy who didn't really feel much. He was just like, didn't really say much. He just got the job done. Whether it was hard or not, whatever. He just kind of sucked it up and got it done. And then afterwards, it's like it was no big deal. And so I'm sitting there in the 90s modeling what masculinity is, unconsciously, of course, because we don't do this consciously, maybe a little bit as boys, off of what I'm seeing on TV and these military shows and movies, off Blondie and The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Oh, maybe this is what it means to be a man. Just like be tough, be hard, you don't feel anything, just suck it up and get the job done. Interesting. Fast forward until 5th grade, my mom gets remarried to my stepfather, and I can remember shortly after that hearing them physically fighting while in the middle of the night, so while I'm supposed to be sleeping. Like you hear them fighting in the hallway, banging into the walls. That's scary for a kid. That's scary for a kid. Maybe you don't have an experience like that. Maybe you do. That affects the nervous system. That predisposes us to fight or flight response anxiety, if we want to call it that. My stepdad owned his own business, which is really cool. I was like, this guy's an entrepreneur. Works hard. Get up at dawn, go to work, come home, at dinner, eat dinner, have a beer, watch TV. This is what I was watching. This is what I was learning. So I had my dad who worked his butt off, my stepdad who also worked hard. And these were the examples that I was picking up. I graduate high school, I go through college. I don't know if anybody knows or if it's relevant, but I have a history degree. I should be teaching high school history and geography and all that stuff, but the way that things went down, it ended up not being the calling for me. And I get out of college and I start personal training and doing nutrition coaching. It's another thing I was really good at. And very quickly, my bosses looked at me and they're like, hey, I feel like you would be great in management, because I had a really good work ethic. I could put in 40, 50, 60 hours, no big deal. I was making $10,000 a month for the club within 10 months. Pretty solid. And so that work ethic that I got from my dad took me into management. And I climbed that ladder. I was like, cool, I want to manage a team of trainers, 5 and 10 different personal trainers, and help them build their businesses too. And then I was like, cool, I think I want to run my own fitness department. So I just kept climbing that ladder, following the example of my dad, who was vice president for a bank. Cool. Take the promotions, make more money, work hard, do good work. It's cool to have a title. And soon enough, I was on track to run my own fitness department. And I was working at a swanky club. And so I was like, I'm going to get this Volkswagen CC so I can have a sexy car to keep up with all the Audis that my coworkers have, even though I didn't want it, but I was playing that game. You know, work hard, make money, get a car, have a title. Never thought I was going to get married, which why would I? My parents got divorced. At the end of college, my mom and my stepdad got divorced. He spent time in jail. Why would I get married? Why would I want to? That's the example that I saw. Clearly, it's a broken institution. But against all odds, I met this girl. And within about a year, I was like, there's something special about this one. Doing what I thought I was supposed to do. I was like, here's this really sexy engagement ring. Let's drop $12,000 on it. Let's propose to her. And I proposed to her in a tree, and she said, you have a ring? And eventually, yes. And we ended up getting married, which is pretty freaking cool. So I had everything. I had a job, title, making excellent money in my early 20s. I had a swanky car. I had a fiance and engaged wife. I was doing everything. Outside, it looked like I had it all. But inside, it didn't feel that way. And one day, when I got out of work a little bit early after our manager's meeting, I was taking my wife to a baseball game for her birthday. Chicago White Sox. Gotta say, I'm a White Sox fan, not a Cubs fan. It's too easy to be a Cubs fan. That can take you into my personality a little bit. And I'm driving on I-94 in my swanky car, and I feel this sensation that's really familiar because I'm CrossFit competition fit. That's how fit I am. I'm ripped. I've got all that stuff going for me too. But I'm driving in the car and I feel like I'm in the middle of a CrossFit WOD. Like I'm breathless, trying to catch my breath. My heart rate is really high. My heart's like beating out of my chest. Like I'm Roger Rabbit and I just saw Jessica Rabbit, which was my first crush. And my fingernails, right? They're dug into the steering wheel. And it wasn't weird for me because I just thought it was normal to have fingernail marks permanently grooved into your steering wheel. Apparently it's not. It's a sign of anxiety and stress if you got it. And it was at this moment where I was like, what's going on? Because I'm trying to catch my breath like I'm sprinting, but I'm not. And that was the moment where I really woke up to the fact that things were not right. I was living out of alignment with something. And all of a sudden, I have this physical manifestation of high anxiety, living on the verge of panic here. And I'm just taking my wife to a baseball game, something that's supposed to be fun. And it was in that moment that I thought about my grandfather, who died with 26 medications sitting on his bedside table for all kinds of different things that the medical system could never help him with, who at the age of 42 had a quadruple bypass surgery. Wasn't for his first heart thing, wasn't his first heart challenge. And for my whole life, he was always, I love my grandfather, man, but he was always sick. And I always perceived that. There was always something medically wrong with him. And here I am sitting in my car on the edge of panic, thinking about him. And I'm like, man, if I continue, I'm going to go down the same path. And just because that's one story, that's one possibility for me, doesn't mean that I have to go down that. And so it was in that moment that I said, fuck that. I don't want to go down that path. I couldn't hide anymore that I had dangerously high blood pressure for somebody in their 20s, despite the fact that I was so quote unquote healthy. I couldn't hide anymore that I was exhausted and just slamming caffeine to get through the day, which is really a fashionable thing in the fitness community. All these pre-workouts, all these energy drinks, all these dad coaches on Instagram that are like, you should be, they don't say you should be, but it's like, hey, I wake up 5 a.m., I slam 300 milligrams of caffeine and then get to the gym. And it's like, I see you because I've been you, man. I know what you're feeling. I couldn't hide that I was coping with my stress through going to Pornhub 3, 4, 5 times a day just to like feel something, just to like have that release for a moment. I couldn't hide that I was spending money recklessly and that both my wife and I were living the dream, working 50, 60 hours a week, seeing each other for 30 to 45 minutes at night, 9 p.m. We'd pass out on the couch, get into bed, wake up at 5 a.m., get to work and do it again the next day. And the only time that we really got to connect was binge drinking and going out to lavish dates on the weekends. And I couldn't hide that there was a terrifying distance and disconnect between the two of us. That like we were two ships passing in the night. I couldn't hide these things anymore. I couldn't numb them out with any amount of caffeine or food or booze or porn or spending money, any of it. I was in no way fit to serve myself or my wife or the little ones that would soon be pitter-pattering up and down our hallways. And thinking of my grandfather, I said, fuck this. I'm not going to go down this path. And I was a nerd. I was a fitness nerd, obviously. And so it was either in Tim Ferriss or Ben Greenfield's podcast, I heard about Andy from Headspace, the meditation app. And I was like, I'm going to start meditating. I hear that this is excellent for blood pressure and for all this psychological distress that I'm in and managing stress. So, okay, I'm going to start doing that. I think it was on Ben Greenfield's podcast that I had heard Wim Hof come on there. And I was like, breathwork, cold therapy. Wow. If he can do that and he can have zero symptoms after being injected with E. coli and it's great for my vascular system, which my grandfather struggled with. Well, I'm going to start doing breathwork and cold therapy. So I started doing these things. And after the first practice, I felt that release that I was seeking through everything else under the sun. And I think so many guys can relate to this. We're seeking that breath, that moment of freedom, that moment of release from everything, and we just can't get it. So we're just constantly chasing it. And within a few months, I had changed enough where other people were noticing it. And they're like, wow, you're so different. What are you doing? And I was like, I'm just doing this meditation and breathwork stuff every day. It's kind of crazy. And I had enough bandwidth and like mental capacity back to really see that this path that I was on, this climbing the ladder, was taking me up a ladder that was on a wall that I didn't actually want to be on. And so I started to climb down that ladder. My bosses thought I was crazy, but I was like, I don't want to be in management anymore. I actually want to go back to a different club so it's closer to home because I want to see my wife and like I want a little bit of time back. And so I went back to a club that was closer to home. And I stepped in at a managerial position, but then climbed down that ladder as well. And I was like, I just want to be a frontline trainer and nutrition coach. Just like, if you guys could just leave me alone, let me run a good business, that'd be great. And really soon, the people who used to be my managers, well, they were still my managers, but they were my coworkers on that ladder, started to come to me for help. They started to come to me to ask like, hey, I'm really struggling. I want to learn how to do what you're doing. And even though I was that guy that they'd pull into the gym and be like, that's either a homeless man or Rob meditating out back in the woods, I don't know. They were coming to me for this help. And so I was training a lot of managers and a lot of other coaches as well, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally through these practices, breathwork, meditation, and yoga as well. Because me being overly intellectual, I was like, I need to go get certified for this. I need to learn what's actually going on. And so I sat and studied at the Temple of Kriya Yoga in Chicago for 18 months to go through a meditation certification so I could start teaching in good faith. And then I also sat in breathwork certification the same way. And then I also sat in Hatha Yoga certification as well. It's like, this feels really good in my body, and I understand it helps me feel more calm. Well, it increases parasympathetic nervous system tone. That's a relaxation response. So let me learn this. And my coworkers who weren't working with me used to come around me and be like, hey, can I just stand by you while I'm working, while I'm like designing programs for people, fitness programs? And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? It's a little weird, but yeah, okay. And eventually, enough different people had done it that I was like, well, okay, why? Why do you want to stand around me? And they said something that I thought was really, really interesting. And what they said was, it just feels calming to be in your presence. And I was like, that's interesting. And what I know now, through all of my study with Heart Math Institute and all of that, is that your heart is a biological oscillator, just like your digestive system, your brain. It emits an electromagnetic field. That's what that biological oscillator is. The heart emits a field that can extend about 2 feet around your body. Your nervous system is always communicating with other people's nervous systems in the same space as you. Even the mouse that's over there in the wall, I know he's there. Our nervous systems are communicating right now. I know what's going on with him. He knows what's going on with me. This is why you can walk into a room with somebody and immediately know, I really like this guy. I don't know this person, but I trust this guy. You can also walk into a room with somebody and be like, fuck that guy. I don't like him. You get a feeling. This is your nervous system communicating. Your nervous system cannot lie. What was happening is what I call the safe harbor effect. And it's what really the foundation of the work that I do with dads. What was happening is that through my practices, my nervous system became coherent, which means it's centered, it's balanced. No longer am I in sympathetic nervous system dominance. That's fight or flight or anxiety or alert and alarm. We're only supposed to be there for a very short period of time every day. My nervous system was centered and more parasympathetic, which is more calming for your body, but also to all the nervous systems around you, it's going to bring theirs into a state of calm, groundedness, centeredness as well. And so my coworkers were like, can I stand around you because of that? It really wasn't me. It was my nervous system helped them feel safe. It created a safe harbor that they were like, I just want to be by you. So many guys want to be this safe harbor for their kids and their wife that they can come to for absolutely anything. And yes, being men of our word, following through, being dependable is part of that. But more than that, it really comes down to your nervous system. Through these practices, breath, meditation, yoga, and that's just the tip of the iceberg, you can create the safe harbor effect in your nervous system to help your whole house just feel good and safe and calm and be this safe space for them to come to with absolutely anything. That's the foundation. Shortly after that, COVID happened. And for years, I had been afraid to start my own business. And I was laid off. But in that first day, I was like, yeah, I'm not quitting. I just called up all my clients. I was like, hey, we're out of business, quote unquote, right now, but let's keep going. Here's my offer. Not just a trainer, not just a nutrition coach. Here's everything. Let's use this holistic coaching. And I started my own business, man. It was crazy. And right at that moment, men specifically and dads specifically started to reach out to me for help. I was like, this is really interesting. And also right at that moment, in April, so it's a month after we got laid off, something happened right here, 5 feet away from where I'm sitting. My wife stood at the back fence and I was finishing a workout and she said 2 words to me, and 2 words that she had said pretty much every month that we had been together as a joke. And 2 words which we had both decided that were not for us because, well, you know, my relationship with marriage and relationships. And those 2 words were, I'm pregnant. And I felt nothing at first because, well, it had been a joke for so long. I wasn't sure if she was serious. But also because, man, we never wanted kids. I wasn't sure that I wanted to be a dad. My own father's divorce. The model of fatherhood is like work hard and work so hard that like you don't really get to spend that much time with your kids. The 90s TV models of the absent dads in Hook, the Peter Pan movie, he was never there. In the movie The Santa Claus, Scott Claus, never there for his kid. They're divorced as well. Or any of the TV sitcoms where dad is just the butt of the joke. He's the comedic relief. He's a doofus. He doesn't know how to do anything for himself. He doesn't know where the pots and pans are. Can't make his own sandwich. Can't get up off the couch. Like this is the model of fatherhood that we were given. And this is still
Simpson dad.
Exactly. This is still the model of fatherhood that's being portrayed in pop culture for our kids. And I was like, I don't want this. I don't want that. But also in that moment, I had a moment of insight, just like I did in that car when I was on the verge of panic. And I was like, well, I don't have to go down that path. Fuck that. Just because that's somebody else's story, and I had already done this with my own health, doesn't mean that that has to be my story. Doesn't mean that that has to be my kid's story. And I had a mentor at that time, who's the first guy I told about this, and he had the same thing. He had the same realization when he had his kids. And everybody tells you all these victim stories. You're going to be tired all the time. Life isn't about you anymore. You're never going to get to take care of your body again. Like, say goodbye to your gym body. There's no time to work on yourself. Your wife isn't yours anymore. She's not going to be interested in you. You guys are going to be roommates. You're never going to have sex again. You're not going to have any money. All of this stuff. He's like, those are just stories. Those are just stories that they're living because they buy them. And you don't have to. And it was in that moment that I was like, I'm going to write my own story. I'm going to create a level of fatherhood for my kids that has never existed in my mind or the minds of anybody that I know before. I'm going to be entirely present and engaged with them and run a successful business at the same time. I'm going to do that. I'm going to keep the fire and the light in my marriage, even with kids, even with the chaos and busyness of kids running around. I'm not going to be the aloof, too busy dad. And I'm going to be able to get down on their level and be this loving, safe harbor for them while still being strong, while still being deeply masculine. And that brings us to a whole other conversation on masculinity that we'll skip. But it was in that moment that I resolved to do this. And all these practices, meditation, yoga, just being a couple of them that we're talking about right now, I realized that after 10 years in the fitness community, cultivating the skills that we need as men and husbands and fathers, patience, deep presence, empathy, playfulness, connection, chivalry for our wife, courtship, masculine leadership, because relationship is just a dance. It's not like, hey, I'm going to do this and you're going to do it because I said so. It's a dance. You invite her to the floor. You dance with her, and where you lead with certainty and confidence she follows. So do your kids. All of these things are no different than anything that we do in the gym. It's all sets and repetitions that builds a skill set, a way of being, just like I did with my nervous system. And so with these men coming to me, I was like, I have something here. This is an actual training program to build the skills, the soft skills and hard skills that are necessary for us to thrive as men, as husbands and fathers. So we can build this patience, this presence, empathy, playfulness, deep connection, chivalry, courtship, leadership, discipline, all of it. Through these practices, meditation, breathwork, yoga, learning how to manage our stress rather than just suppressing it, which I learned from these Clint Eastwood types. But when we do that, it's like we're taking electrical tape and we're driving our car and there's a bunch of flashing lights and we just tape over that. That's what happens when we just suppress our stress. And those problems are going to become bigger problems. There's pressure in the engine. It has to go somewhere. And that's how I ran into anxiety and panic. That's how I ran into that deep disconnect between myself and my wife. That's how we run into the massive problems in our lives that are like, I didn't know this was there, but deep down we really did. We knew that we know that we've been hiding from it for so long. And when this happens, we no longer feel the warning signs that are creeping up leading to my panic, for instance. There's a term for this called alexithymia, and that means no words for emotion. It's a psychological term. Yep. And men experience this twice as much as women do. What happens, some people are apparently just have this problem. But for us as men, the more that we shove down and suppress our emotions, the less that we feel them. Doesn't mean they're not there. The problem, biggest problem with this, is that is how we're surprised by overreactions, by losing our temper with our wife and with our kids, by bickering and shutting down or running away from our wife in disagreements, by falling into terrible coping patterns like I had that are causing more issues, and then ending up at a place in life where it's like, wow, how did I get here? Divorce, whatever it might be. That's not even the worst part, though. Because you've ignored all these warning signs for so long that now you've been surprised by this thing and you're feeling guilty and ashamed that, oh, it happened again. You resolve to be better. But after a couple days or weeks or months, you fall back into the pattern again. The worst part is that you don't just lose the ability to feel the bad things that you're trying to numb out to. You lose the ability to feel the good things too. The joy, the love, the bond, the connection, the play when your kids are in the same space as you. I have so many guys that are like, I just feel numb. On the weekends playing with my kids, I feel like I don't enjoy it as much as I want to. And that's what this is. That is what this is. And so the emotional regulation piece, being able to accept, yeah, you know what, I am feeling anxious right now. Acknowledge that it's there. Acknowledge that it's okay for me to feel this. And to realign ourselves, I call it alchemize, to turn that lead into gold with the highest thing that we can access. Using physical practices as well to discharge that stress, because stress gets stuck in the body. You know it sitting here listening to this. You know your traps and your shoulders get tight when you're under stress. That's muscular contraction. That's sympathetic nervous system. If you can discharge that stress from the body through yoga or shaking or tapping, primal release like I teach my men, well, then we can move through that. And we can reconnect to the good things. It's not about emotional suppression. It's about welcoming your emotions in and working with them and alchemizing them, turning them into something new. So I realized that through this breathwork, meditation, yoga, emotional mastery training, I could cultivate the skill set that's necessary for us to thrive as men and husbands and fathers, just like we do at the gym. It's just sets and repetitions. If I know you're running a marathon in 5 months, great, I can periodize that and get you there. It is no different with the ways that we want to show up as men and husbands and fathers. And in a short arc here, because I could turn this into a 2-hour thing, that's my story, man.
I'm a little bit like a deer caught in traffic right now, because there's so much. I see myself so much in your story, and there are a couple of things I want to unpack, especially when, as you said, you were just out driving and you started to feel that your heart was pounding. Were there not any other signs before that you were on the wrong track? Because I had that same experience. It freaked me out because I thought I was just like working, listening to music, having a good time, and like doing my thing. I was rebranding a really fun project. It was summertime Sweden. Everything was beautiful. And I was like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, the signs were that I hated my job and I hated how much I didn't get to see my wife. But I felt like there was no other way. And I felt like I just had to keep going. And I felt anxious every single day, just this negative emotion all the time. But the story is that that's just part of life. Like, you just deal with it. You just suck it up and you just keep going. And so,
And did you ever express that you wanted to change job, do something else to your wife? Did you ever express that?
I mean,
No.
yeah, like, I hate this, but like, this is just what I got to put up with. Like, I hate that my personal training job isn't about actually helping people be healthier, that it's about sales and getting as many people through the door that I can sell training packages as possible so we can make $300,000 in his apartment. I hate that. But you know what? It's just the job. So I guess I just got to suck it up. I didn't have the tools to deal with that. And so I suppressed it, just like so many of us do. Didn't know what to do with it.
And you help like men reignite their marriages. Can you share one story, maybe a client or even just someone who applied your message where things flipped from like dead marriage to alive again?
Yeah. I think one of my favorite guys, I can't say that there's a favorite because I love all you guys. Inside of the Order of Kings is a gentleman by the name of Steve. And he came to me about a year and a half ago, really struggling. Whole life of trouble controlling his temper, using marijuana just to take that edge off. He had been sober for, I think, a year at that point from alcohol, so that's great, but still had this really big challenge with his temper. He and his wife were so disconnected that he was having thoughts of opening an online dating profile and starting to see what was out there. And he came to me to work on these things. He went through the Order of Kings program. It's 16 weeks. Where we develop all of these things. We sit in one-on-one mentorship, and I challenge you guys on your shit too, but hold you lovingly and compassionately. And now, almost on a weekly basis, he checks in and just with how much gratitude he has and how much like he has around how good his relationship with his wife is, about how she just seeks him and craves him. And sometimes he's like, my wife jumped me last night. I don't know what, she must like the vibe that I'm putting out. Our relationship is stronger than ever. We have sex 3 times a week. We're actually making love for the first time in our life. My kids now run to me rather than running away from me out of fear that I'm going to punch a cabinet because I'm so mad at something that happened. This is a year and a half for him, but really it was those 16 weeks inside of Order of Kings that laid the foundation for him to be able to do this. And I asked him for a follow-up testimonial a few months ago because I was like, I really want to tell this story about how far you've come in this past year. And he had journaled it all out, and his wife came across his journal sitting at the table. And he had never really talked about how desperate he was with her when he first began Order of Kings. She laughed at him when he first signed up. So many women do this to men when they come into the Order of Kings. They laugh. They're like, you can't change. And she was crying at the table. Initially, he was like, oh shit, I really fucked up. I'm in trouble now. But as the king that he is, he came in, he was able to hold space for her and be like, hey, honey, what's going on? And she wasn't mad at all. She was taken back to that moment a year and a half ago where she was also having those same thoughts of getting divorced, starting her own online dating profile, seeing what other men were out there. But they had never talked about that. Just how bad things were. They had never acknowledged it because we're two trains passing in the night quietly, keeping our hurt and our pain to ourselves, texting on our phones next to each other, thinking that everything's okay. Regular old roommate life, just slowly drifting further apart because we're just like, I need to work and focus on the kids. But that's how you end up where they were. And she was crying because she was remembering that, but also so grateful for where they were then and where they are now. And that was just 16 weeks of work and then him staying diligently on it, staying in the brotherhood and showing up with us when things were hard. And his story is one of my absolute favorites because not only did he light a fire that was hotter than anything that they had ever had in their marriage. She seeks him out. They play all the time. There's more playfulness, more connection, more fun than they've ever had in their relationship. But more than that, he's the guy that now he's such a strong, safe presence. He not only sorts things out between like the kids and his wife, but even his like nieces and nephews when there's a dispute in the family. He's the one that just brings everybody together, creates that safe harbor and lays down the law like, hey, we can't do this. You guys can't be beating up on your cousins over here. And his sisters will come to him and be like, hey, I'm so proud of how you handled that. I'm so thankful for how you set this tone for our whole family. So he's one of my absolute favorite stories.
Beautiful. I love that. So was he suffering from not being able to express what he was going through, like the thing you said, alexithymia? And how important is it for you to have this brotherhood or have another man to just like express what you are going through? Because I've had like these, like there were over 2 years of time, I was just thinking for myself that I just wanted to get a divorce. I just want to get out of this, before I even had the courage to speak it out loudly to one of my brothers-in-law. And that just like when I just spoke it out of my mouth, when it came out of my mouth, I just got this instant release. And I could just start to think a little bit more clearly. But I was afraid to speak about the demons that was going on in my head.
Yeah, for him, he had skills of self-regulation. Most men don't. I didn't. It was hard work to develop where I am right now. And I'm still not perfect. He had no skills for self-regulating. So he was coping with everything, just like I was, just like so many men listening to this probably are as well. When you have no skills of self-regulation, it's really hard to communicate what's going on. If you can't communicate it to yourself, you can't communicate it to your wife, your partner. All that's going to happen is you're likely going to bitch about the things that you feel that you're not receiving in the relationship, the emotional things in the moment. You're going to fight, and then you're going to have this uncomfortable tension between you until the next time. We cannot feel into anybody else. Our wife is called empathy, to feel into, until we're able to feel into ourselves. And so that requires us to go there and to acknowledge what we're feeling in a journal first. I will tell you, though, but that for me, there is nothing more powerful. There's nothing that accelerated my growth, my ability to show up for my wife, my kids, myself, my business, the men that I serve, more than sitting in brotherhood and having a space to bring my shit to the table, to be real. Because men, we bear a silent burden, and we do it willingly. It's what we're here to do. We grind, we work our asses off to provide, and to put a roof over the heads of our wife and our kids, to put food on the table, and we'll burn it at both ends until we burn out if we need to. We don't have any of the skills to cope. It can feel really lonely. I myself, and the men that I work with, I know that men that are listening to this will identify with this as well, have felt at times that I'm alone in this, even though I'm surrounded by the people that I love, my wife and my kids. The burden of a father can feel really lonely. And that's because, one, we're actually not meant to be doing this as part of a family unit with a wife and children. As men, we're built to be a part of the hunting team, to be a part of the war party, to be a part of the shield wall. And inside the shield wall, if there's something going on with you that's going to compromise your ability to show up, that's going to compromise the unit, well, everybody needs to know, because then you're a liability and they want to make sure that you're taken care of, that you're helped, so that you don't compromise the entire unit. Inside of a household, our household is a garden. It's different than being out on the warpath and being in workplace. It needs a different dynamic, but when we're bearing that load all the time, we get locked into war mode, we start to feel alone, and that's when we start to crumble. But when we lean into brotherhood, when we lean into the party, when we lean into the shield wall, all of a sudden, you have other men there that understand that silent burden and that silent struggle. Just speaking it relieves so much tension. I'm going to tell you a story that probably isn't true, but it's powerful nonetheless. There's a story about a group of Native American braves, a tribe that after war, they would come back into the tribe And the entire tribe would gather around to reinitiate them and to transition them back into community life, back into the garden. And it was called sharing the cup. And they would gather around the fire and they would share the traumatic things, the terrible things that happened out on the battlefield. They would literally pour out their cup. We can hold it all in, our problems, our trauma, our fear, our challenges can then overflow into our family and create dirt and muck and grime in their cups as well. But when we come together to pour this stuff out to the community, the whole community gets to hold that. No man is meant to hold this alone. But when we come together and we share the cup, we pour out the cup, everybody can hold this. You don't have to hold it alone. And in just 90 seconds, an emotion is meant to run for about 90 seconds. If we can acknowledge that it's there, if we can speak it out loud, that emotional process inside the body, your worry, your fear, your anxiety, whatever, can play out and be done. If it's not, well, then we got to bring in tapping or some kind of physical release or toning or breathwork, whatever. But when we don't acknowledge it, we tape over it, we hide it, that continues playing out. That anxiety.
Tapping, you mean emotional freedom technique, right?
Emotional freedom technique is one option.
Yeah, love that.
But then it continues to play out and build and build and build until you break down like I did. And so when we come together in brotherhood, we come together in the spirit of pouring out the cup and holding everyone. We can just be there and hold that for you. We can say, brother, I see you. There's a relief in knowing that you're not alone, because I don't know a man who isn't also experiencing this to some degree, even practiced men like myself and the guys inside the brotherhood. And we can receive help, guidance from men who have been there, who are a little bit further down the path. I was there with my wife too, Steve, all the time. He comes in, he's like, I feel where you're at, man. It feels like there's no way out. I'll tell you, a year and a half ago, I was in the same place. Here's what I did. I see you doing that now. Stay on the path because it can change. And there's so much relief in hearing that. It's still hard. We still have to do the work. But there's so much relief in hearing that. And also having men that can challenge you. Because men's work, having a brotherhood isn't about this like feel-good place where we get to talk about our feelings and we get to receive this healing like a women's group. No, what men's group is about breaking. Men's group is about pain. That's why there's a difference between breaking the curse of the father. There has to be a breaking. There has to be a breaking. It has to hurt. And women's work, which is breaking the cycle, not breaking, it's healing the cycle of the mother. There's healing, that's women's work. Men's work is about breaking. This is hard, so there has to be confrontation. Sometimes you're going to come in and men are going to have to challenge you like, hey, I see you in this spiral. I know that you are capable of so much more. I wonder if you're open to a challenge. Here's what I have for you. Are you open to taking on that challenge this week and doing that? Because you're playing small right now. I know that you're capable of so much more. Having a brotherhood is an accelerator of growth, and it will take things to such a higher level. Because we're not meant to do this alone. We're not meant to even just be part of a family in this beautiful garden. We're meant to be a part of the hunting party, the shield wall, the war party surrounded by men who can call us up and call us out. That's why it's not called a man among women or a man among the family. It's called being a man among men, because only men can draw out the fullest potential in one another in terms of leadership and what we're capable of.
And about breaking the cycle of the father, have you seen the Bruce Lee? It's not Bruce Lee in the movie. It's a movie about Bruce Lee, played by Jason Scott Lee. It's the name of it's The Dragon, where he says that you need to face your demons or your kids will.
It's the classic.
Do you believe you need to face your demons in order for it not to be passed down to your kids?
It's the classic myth, man. We can even just go back.
That's the actual motivation for myself doing the work before I even had kids, because I knew I wanted to be a father. I knew I was going to get kids. So I was like, and I know there's a bunch of demons, both from my mom's side and my father's side and from my uncle's side, like that I need to do something. And I'm far beyond like free from the demons. I'm still battling them, but just doing the work and being in the place I am, I'm blessed. But I want to hear your thoughts about not passing on the demons to the next generation.
There's a saying, I don't remember which Greek philosopher said it. It's fate leads he who follows and drags he who resists. We can look at mythology, ancient mythology. Almost all traditions have dragon myths. We can look at modern mythology and look at J.R.R. Tolkien and The Hobbit. They have to go face the dragon. They have to do it. Because if they don't, things are going to get far worse. We all have dragons that we must face. A dragon is our cycle, is our curse of the father. We all have to face our dragon. And our dragon is usually rooted in two of the core wounds of the masculine, which is not good enough, and I don't want anybody to find out. And so we learn how to be in ways that protect us from anybody ever finding out that we're not good enough. And we develop these terrible patterns and coping mechanisms that, protect us from anybody finding out, but they keep us safe, they keep us small. They lock us into patterns of coping, like myself, and doing things that are out of alignment with our heart and our soul, like myself, leading us down the path of anxiety, panic, high blood pressure, heart problems. I was going down the same path as my grandfather. One of the other core wounds of the masculine is abandonment. I don't want them to leave me. Infants have this fear. I don't want to call it a fear because I don't know that they experience it that way. But excommunication 200,000 years ago from the tribe, from the pack, is certain death. We like the lone wolf stories, but we forget that the lone wolf story ends with the death of the wolf in the wild. Being abandoned is one of the oldest fears that we have. And so we develop coping mechanisms and ways of being so that that doesn't happen. We all have to face our dragon. Where there's smoke, there's a dragon. What is the smoke? It's all of our coping mechanisms. Mine, excessive caffeine, nightly alcohol, porn, binge watching TV, binge drinking on the weekends with my wife, working out way too hard, excessive spending of money. Here's a frequent one: doom scrolling. How much time do you lose on your phone versus time that you could have had with your wife and your kids? All of these things are smoke. The problems in your relationship with your wife, the unspoken disconnection, maybe resentment that's there, the overreactions that you have with your kids and your wife. All of this stuff is smoke. Where there's smoke, there's a dragon. It's our role as fathers to face the dragon, because the dragons that we don't face will come to our village. That is when we have divorce. That is when we have a heart attack. That is when we die and our kids are left without a father because we didn't take care of ourselves, because we were numbing out with all of these coping mechanisms so that we didn't have to see the uncomfortable thing, which is the dragon. Fate will drag the man who resists. The dragon will come to your village, and when the dragon comes to your village, the dragon burns everything. And that's your wife and your children. The dragons that you do not face become the burdens of your wife and your children. And I will tell you, most men do not face their dragons, because most men don't have the operating system to believe that they actually get to be the hero of this story. We could get into Lord of the Rings and Hobbits and our kids and how our role is to steward them and to let them take the ring to Mordor, but we have to lay the stage for that to happen, which means we have to go face our own dragon at Erebor first. We have to do that first. And that's how we move from hiding from the dragon to becoming a dragon slayer. We go to the cave like Luke Skywalker went to the cave in Dagobah. What did he find when he got into the cave? He found Darth Vader. Darth Vader, his father. Because ultimately, when we confront our dragon, when we walk into the cave, this is the classic hero's journey that I take my men through inside of the Order of Kings. We are going to have to confront the sins, the curse of our father and forefathers. And what happens when Luke fights Darth Vader in the cave in Dagobah and the mask is cut open and explodes, is that he doesn't see his father in there. He sees himself. And there's a realization when we step into that cave to face the dragon, that no matter how much we want to point to our fathers and our forefathers, it is we, through our actions or our complacence or our numbing, that are responsible for all of the challenges that we're facing right now. That also means that we are also the solution to all of our challenges. And that is where a whole different journey opens up. where we have the opportunity to be the transitional character for our family and for our lineage. Not an NPC, the sitcom dad, but the actual transitional character. And the transitional character is the man who notices the cycles. He sees them, and he devotes himself to putting in the work to shatter them in this lifetime so that his kids will not have to, so that those who come after him do not have to face his dragons, do not have to bear the same burden. And just like the hobbits in Lord of the Rings, they will have to bring their own rings to Mordor. They will have to. But it is our responsibility as fathers to do as much of the work possible as is possible so that they don't have to do our work for us. That's the path. It's not through slaying the father, it's through redeeming the father. And looking back at my dad, wow, his dad died when he was 18. He had to provide for that whole little family. Man, yeah, I didn't get to play with them as much as I wanted to. I inherited this cycle of overworking that led me into anxiety and panic and disconnection with my wife and almost going down the same path of divorce. But man, how hard that must have been. And look at him doing the best that he could with what he had. And that shifts something. Look at my stepfather. Yeah, alcohol abuse, physically fighting with my mom. They got divorced. But at the same time, this is a man whose own father stabbed him in the arm with a fork at the dinner table because he had his elbows on the table and took his hand off and the fork was still sitting there. This is a man who watched his own mom commit suicide in front of him. All of a sudden, I can feel compassion for that. It's not about slaying him, holding resentment against him. It's about redeeming him through, I see you and I forgive you. And once we do that, and then we begin to self-regulate, own our own emotions, and put in the work that's necessary to break through these coping patterns, these numbing patterns that we've developed, we not only slay and break the cycle or the curse of our fathers, we slay the dragon. But like in the Persian myths, the dragon becomes your ally and gives you all of the gold. This is the work. The dragons that we do not face become the burden of our own kids. They come, they burn everything. But if we can face that, we find a new ally. We find inner gold, which is a big deal in men's work, that we can now use to bless everybody else in our lives, our kids, our wife, all of them. Face your dragons, man.
Wow. You're such a great storyteller, and I love these analogies. So if we continue with the dragon and the smoke, can you share just like a concrete example of a form of smoke and what dragon is connected to that smoke and how I go and slay that dragon?
Yeah, what about losing your temper with your kids?
Yeah.
Right? How many of us can remember a moment where our dad lost his temper with us? Where my dad ran up the stairs at me because I was calling him dad instead of papa and he wanted me to call him papa, right? And I was scared. We can all remember a moment like that. But one, maybe that's something that we were modeled. That's how we pick things up. The two, very likely, you just got poor self-regulation skills. You've suppressed so much that you're in warrior mode when you walk into your home at the end of the day. You're still in work mode if we want to think about it that way. Outside of the home, we go to work, that's the battlefield. But we bring our weapons of war into the home. Our sword is still drawn when we walk in. That's aggressive overreaction. Our armor is still on. That's passive numbness. So when we walk into the house, of course we're going to run that play. So what do? Well, we learn to self-regulate. We learn how to bring our nervous system down so that we're not stuck in sympathetic dominance or overreaction, that fight mode. What do? Well, before we walk into the house, we take a moment to breathe. Why breath? Breath links to everything. Breath influences everything. When we inhale, it stimulates the alertness, fight or flight response. When we exhale, it stimulates the relaxation response. So just in how I breathe, I can bring myself to center and out of the reactive fight or flight. And if I can do that and I can bring myself down into the calm, it's the act of not just sheathing our sword, but taking it off and hanging it up like this beautiful samurai armor and taking off my armor and hanging up there. And if I can call up my most cherished memories with my son and my daughter and my new little buddy, 6-month-old Tucky, and my wife, and all of a sudden I feel this love inside because we can connect to that at any moment. Anybody listening right now, you might close your eyes. Unless you're driving, don't do it. and think about the birth of your first child, or if you don't have kids, just the most cherished moment in your life. And you can feel that again right now. And if we can do that, we can walk in with this loving, almost like solar sun-like energy into the house, which is not the battlefield where we need armor and a sword. It's the garden. And our work is to nurture those who are in there. And if we can do that, well, no longer are we going to be struggling with the same reactive patterns of our forefathers or our own inability to cope, which we were using doom scrolling or alcohol or porn to work through instead, and then we were still overreacting. Well, now we're going to walk in as this loving gardener instead. And that's just a transition. The work is to wake up and to do this in ritual every single morning, because that's the inner dojo, the inner gym, the inner sets and reps that shifts your nervous system over the long term. And all of a sudden you cultivate those qualities, and then you use this moment, this samurai transition moment, to take your armor off before you walk in the home and walk in as that gardener who's not reactive or less reactive, whose armor is off so that he can fully be there and feel and love his wife and kids, whether it's chaos and there's melting down happening or things are good. We can feel all of it. Almost all of the dragons we need to face are rooted in that.
I want to transition into marriage and masculinity. What's the weirdest but most common belief you hear men carrying about marriage or relationships? Something that you feel is just like plain wrong.
The biggest one is happy wife, happy life, man.
Have you heard happy spouse, happy house?
I have not heard that,
I heard it once.
It's another good one.
I don't want it to be a battle. Is it the wife or the spouse?
Well, it's funny that you say that. I don't want it to be a battle, because that's what those sayings are about. Those sayings are about,
indeed.
I don't want discomfort. I don't want it to be a battle. I don't want resistance inside the home. Happy wife, happy life is really this relationship of placating a scary dog. Like if I just do everything that keeps her happy, well, then everything's just going to be great. We won't have any disagreements. She's just going to be happy. I'm going to cower over here in my man cave and make sure that she's not mad. And if she is mad, let me anxiously step in and try and fix everything for her, and then run away back into my man cave, my storm shelter below decks. It's terrible. We put our wife in the relationship of this scary dog who, if something happens, the whole house is going to fall apart. Like we might get bit and attacked. And it creates this relationship of like stepping on eggshells. Like, oh, I don't want to upset her. And I don't want to say anything that she might take the wrong way. And so we end up doing things and saying things that are out of alignment with what we really feel. And we tiptoe around the fact that I'm not feeling as connected to you as I want to. I wish we were more physically intimate. We haven't had sex in 4 months or a year. I don't feel like we're actual partners anymore. I feel like we're roommates. Happy wife, happy life leads down that.
Yeah, that's really common stories.
The difference, the model, the framework that I work with, that I teach my men, and that there is really high success with, is the framework of sacred union. This isn't just a marriage, a piece of paper, a contract, a relationship where it's 50, like, okay, I'll do this for you, wife, if you do this for me. That's a relationship that leads us to feel slighted and treated unfairly when she's not showing up the way that we think that she should, the way that we want her to in the marriage. It's a relationship that builds resentment. Sacred union is something far different. It's this covenant. It's not a contract. It's a spiritual agreement to be all in no matter what, to take 100% ownership for how we show up in relationship, whether she's showing up the way that we want her to or not, whether things are challenging in our life, stressful, or not. I'm all in, no matter what, through thick and thin, most especially when I don't like you. The sacred union is founded on understanding what a marriage really is. It's founded on the understanding that Your wife, the first wife that we have in mythology is Eve, is meant to be your Ezer Kenegdo,
What's
your
that?
helpmeet, as people translate it to in the Bible, but helpmeet that is equal to him, that is equal to you, your beneficial adversary in another translation. Masculine and feminine, we are very different. We are the sun, she is the moon. I use these representations intentionally. There's a reason why the sun has always been a representation of the masculine. Your beneficial adversary is meant to push against you. Most men have been to the gym or have worked out at some point in their lives. And if you want to get stronger, you want to build more muscle, you want to get more fit, what do you have to do? You have to engage in resistance. It has to be uncomfortable. And that's because in your marriage, your wife isn't there to be your better half or to be the one that completes you. She's meant to be there as you are meant to be there for her, to be the resistance in a way that extracts a fuller potential out of you, just like you would do in the gym. You don't get stronger without lifting weights, without being resisted. Purpose of your marriage is to resist each other in just the right way, with compassion, with love, with the skills that we've talked about here so far, so that you can draw out your fullest potential, her fullest potential, and the fullest potential of your children. Without the marriage and this framework, you cannot draw out the fullest potential of your children, which is your responsibility to them. And so the sacred union is the acknowledgement that she is my partner in this, that is equal to me. She is my beneficial adversary, my lover. And through the love that we make and the resistance that we provide to each other, only then can we, not just as individuals, but as this family, actually reach our fullest potential. And this cannot be done, men, when we treat her like a bro, or we're afraid of confrontation. You guys are going to disagree. And we're walking on eggshells because we're like, oh, happy wife, happy life, just keep her happy. We have to have an understanding of what the feminine is. And a relationship with the feminine is a relationship with the brute and the brutality of nature. And your woman might not like this. Maybe the women listening to this are going to be like upset at first, but maybe they won't. The relationship with your woman is like you're in a relationship with a werewolf, because she's constantly going through a cycle that you will never understand or experience. And when you met her, she was the girl with the golden hair. She was beauty incarnate. She made your whole body, your hair, and other things stand on end, right? You just couldn't get enough of her. And when she's ovulating, there's a 3 to 5 day period, and I could be off. Mary, yell at me if I'm off on the exact times, is when she is in this girl with the golden hair moment. This is the wife that you are secretly desiring her to be all the time. And if you're desiring that from her all the time, you're desiring her to be like a man, because we don't go through a lunar cycle. We don't go through a menstrual cycle. This is when she's ovulating. Your physiology knows that, so you want her more than anything else. Her testosterone is higher. She's more confident. She's more assertive. She's more willing to play and down for anything. But then that passes. And she moves from that summer, that peak, that girl with the golden hair, into the fall, and things start to slow down a little bit. She's not as playful. She's still down to play. Testosterone comes down. She's not as confident. Maybe she wants to snuggle a little bit more. We still want her to be the previous version of herself. And then she moves into winter. She moves into her menstrual cycle, when all that she wants is to be wrapped in a blanket. She's hurting. She's uncomfortable. She turns into the werewolf if you poke her the wrong way. She gets emotional for no reason. She's highly irritable, especially if the kids are around and you're like, wow, what's going on with you today? But if you understand this cycle, you know precisely what's going on. She's in the winter. We might call it the werewolf phase. She's on the dark side. And what are you going to do? Well, as the masculine, our energy is solar. It's the sun. We're going to shine that love on her. We're not going to run away to the storm cellar like a little boy and be like, Mom, it's this time of the month for mom. Happy wife, happy life. Just let everybody come with me. Just leave her alone. It's like, no, I fucking love you. And I know that underneath these clouds, you are there. And the sun even when it's stormy and it's black with storm clouds, is still shining up above the clouds. This is what masculine leadership looks like in the family. This is, I love you so much, and I'm going to keep loving you through this moment, this blip that you're in. And I'm going to love you in the way that you need to be loved right now, not the way that I want in our relationship, not because I want sex and I want attention and affection from you so that I can feel like I'm enough. No, I'm the sun. I'm going to love you through this. I'm going to care for you through this. And within about a week, she moves back into the spring. The sun starts to come out. She moves back towards that peak of summer, ovulation again, the girl with the golden hair, and she's back. This isn't about happy wife, happy life. This is about learning how to be with a woman and not attached to who she is when she's ovulating and when she is the girl with the golden hair, because that's who she is, and 3 days out of the month. She's constantly going through this infradian rhythm, through this lunar cycle. She is different every single day because her hormones are always changing. Whereas you're going by a circadian rhythm, the sun's rhythm. You wake up, by about 8, 9, 10 a.m., your testosterone peaks, you can handle anything. About noon, you start to come down. You might need a midday nap. That's why siestas are so popular in so many cultures. And the man's rhythm, by the end of the day, testosterone's really coming down. We just want to kind of sit back, put our feet up and relax. And then 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night, you're ready for bed. You wake up. Tomorrow's exactly the same. You do it again. When you expect that from your wife, you're not expecting her to be a woman. You're expecting her to be a man. And that will cause so many problems in your relationship. So some of the biggest things that we can do as men is, one, learn how to self-regulate. We talked about being the safe harbor. If you can do that, you can sheathe your sword and walk in as that loving gardener, as the sun into this garden. You can do so much to soothe the nervous systems of everybody in the house and be able to just hold them no matter what. Secondly, we have to have this sacred union mentality that she is a part of nature. She's a relationship with nature. She's a loving werewolf. She is going to resist you in ways that you cannot understand or comprehend. And it's not running away from the resistance. It's leaning into it and saying, I'm here, push against me. I can hold you. I can take you. I love you. And being the sun, being connected to your love, which is hard to do through all of that. And only through being able to do that and acknowledging that I'm in a relationship with a woman. She's not the way that I want her to be, but that's because I'm a man, and she's not a man. She's a woman, and I can take this, and I got this, and I love you. And being able to roll with those cycles will drastically change your marriage. And that's just one piece.
So I wanted to ask you how you coach a man in order to not be afraid of the werewolf. Like if she's having a tangent, her nervous system is unregulated, she's starting to bash on you. How do you coach a man to stand there? Is it like through the training of regulating your nervous system? Do you give him some frameworks or beliefs around, like you also shared it right now, that to just understand she's not a man. Don't expect her to be a man. She's a woman and she has a different cycle, and she's going to be like, relate to her as if she's nature. If it's raining, if it's sunny outside, don't bitch about it. You can just like be there and be in a loving presence. Is there anything else you would like put in there in order to coach a man, in order to like be that loving presence in the eye of the storm?
One of the first techniques that I teach is,
because I think like this is like the golden nugget. Every man that doesn't know this and knows how to deal with this is the gold, brothers.
One of the first techniques that I teach is, in addition to the breath work, is I call it the inner sun practice. Kriya Yoga, we called it at the temple in Chicago, we called it the object of happiness. The way that I teach this is, what was your most cherished memory with your son? For me, it's the birth of my son, Theo. My daughter, it's the birth of her. They feel different. My son, Tucky, it's the first time he smiled at me. It wasn't his birth. It was interesting. My wife, it was the moment I asked her to marry me, and when we were sitting in a tree. And she said, you have a ring, you have a ring, you have a ring. I swear it was for 10 minutes before I helped her get out of the tree because she was going to fall. And before she eventually said yes. We connect to this every single day in our ritual. as kings inside the order of kings. We do our breath work. We connect to our most cherished memory with everyone in our life because, and Mike Tyson said it, everybody's got a plan. This is
Get punched in the face.
Yeah, until we get hit in the mouth, right? It's then that we're going to drop to the level of our training. That's the programming that we inherited from our parents and that we've inherited through repetition in our life. When we do these rituals, breathwork meditation, the inner sun practice or the safe harbor lighthouse practice, every single day, as a matter of practice, when we walk into that house at the end of the day and she's overstimulated, she's overwhelmed, you breathe and she bares her teeth at you. You just breathe the wrong way. You laugh because we've all experienced it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of reacting as you would do if you were in a stress response or you still had your sword out and your armor on, you can drop straight into that practice immediately. You can already be in your breath walking in. You can be activating that cherished memory with her because that's the same girl that's in there. That's the same woman that's in there underneath that. Underneath those clouds, she's still there. That's who you need to interact with. And so it's, how can I dance in this moment? Because your relationship is a dance. How can I make love to this moment? Because this isn't about her being a bro that you need to have a quarterly review with and talk about your love languages and all of that stuff and be like, you're not doing the thing that you said that you were going to do right now. You need to get your emotions under control. Instead, it's how can I make love in this moment? And the more that you work with your emotions, the more that you're able to understand what's going on with hers. And you can be this rock and just like, yeah, wash over me, babe. I got you. How do we make love in the moment? How do we make light of this? Not making fun of her, but it's like, shit, I see that she's overstimulated, overwhelmed. How can I step in and reduce some of that pressure on her nervous system? Can I take the kids? Is there something that I can see right now that I can help with without asking her, what can I help with, right? Because that drives our wives nuts too. They're like, what, you can't see everything that's going on here? And we could talk about that because our brains are set up differently. Well, how else can I make love? Well, I can say something. I can use words, acts of service. This is me stepping in and seeing that the laundry's undone. It's on the bed. She doesn't have time for it. She's getting dinner ready. Okay, let me take the kids and do laundry and give her a little bit of space. This can be physical touch. How many times do we avoid touching our wife because we're feeling resentful, we're feeling disconnected, or she's snapped at you? My wife, if we talk about love languages, her lowest is physical touch. My highest is physical touch. But she will also, she will also be the first one to say that when I'm not coming in and just putting my hands on her or giving her a hug or kissing her on the neck while she's doing dishes, she's the first one that will say, I wish that you would do that. I wish that you would come touch me, even if I don't want it, even if I'm going to push you away. How else can I make love in this moment? We've talked about active service, saying something like, babe, I'm so happy to see you right now, even if she's a tornado in this moment, or she's going to strike you with her lightning. This is an act of service doing the laundry. This is creating a moment of quality time, which maybe we can't do it in the moment, but maybe we can. Maybe we can take the kids and go do something and she can have a moment to herself. Or 1 or 2 or 3 times throughout the week when you put the kids down, you just sit and you connect and you have that quality time. So how can I make love in the moment? How could I do that? We can use love languages, which are cool. They're a problem when they become something that we do quarterly or daily or weekly reviews with our wife. Like, you're not meeting my love language, so I'm not going to meet yours. It's how can I meet her as the son in this moment? Self-regulated, able to handle and hold all of it. How can I dance with her? How can I make love in this moment? What could I do that could add love and soothe her nervous system right now? Even if she snaps at me, even if, it doesn't matter, because she's a relationship with nature. Sometimes lightning strikes and it's nothing personal with lightning. It's just a law of nature. And we can either make the most out of it or we can get resentful about it and turn it into more bickering and disagreement, more resentment, more distance.
Like there's so many things going on in my mind right now, but I want to, because time is flying and I want to get in one question here before we start wrapping up. What's your top 5 biohacking tips for dads who want energy, strength, and focus back? And why is it important for us to like be physically strong?
Well, your ability to be physically fit. That's strong, fit, that's cardiovascular fitness. That's flexibility. Trickles down to everything else. Strength is the capacity to overcome gravity, basically, to overcome challenge. Physical strength will translate to mental and emotional strength. Better capacity to overcome challenges in your life. Or confidence as well. We could talk about the impact on your hormones and testosterone as well. Cardiovascular fitness will translate to your ability to endure more and keep your heart rate down during it. To go for the long haul, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. And I think the one that so many of us overlook is flexibility. You have to be flexible. One of the biggest dad stories is like, dad can't, his back hurts. Or daddy can't get on the floor and play with you. Or dad can't run around like that, right? What's the story that tells your kids? That then, because every story, every word that we say is a spell. It's why the word spell is inside the word spelling. We know this stuff. A spell is a word or combination of words of great power that influences the physical environment around it. These stories that we say because we're out of shape, they create our kids' reality. It's a life that they end up living because that's the program you give them. So we have to be strong. We have to be fit. We also need to be flexible because, well, flexibility is the ability to bend without breaking. One, in your body. You better be able to get down and play with your kids. You better be able to ravage your wife in whatever position she needs without throwing your back out, right? That's an old story. Like, I hurt myself having sex. Well, what the fuck are you doing, man? What are you doing? You should be able to throw her over your shoulder with no problem. Like, let's go, man. And she wants that too. But more than that, flexibility gives us adaptability. It gives us the ability to bend without breaking, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally to the pressures of life. The more that we're able to bend without breaking, the more adaptable we are. And we're able to pass down that ability, that skill set to our kids. So one, we have to be fit. It's not just strong. We have to be fit, strong, fit, flexible. We have to put in that work. 80% of your lifestyle habits will be picked up by your kids. That's not me. That's the CDC. That's your fitness level or lack thereof. The foods that you eat, whether they're highly nutritious or not. The ways that you cope with stress. The ways that you relate to your wife. Whether you like it or not, whether they see it or not. Your kids are going to pick up 80% of those habits. So it's not just strength, fitness, flexibility. It's not just that. Have you heard this one? I'll sleep when I'm dead. It's your sleep.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about quantity because when we got little kids running around, we don't always get to have perfect, unbroken sleep. I'm talking about quality. You've got blue light blockers on. I do too. We're in an environment that's set up to wreck our hormones and to wreck our sleep. And there's nothing that will break a person faster than broken sleep, than lack of sleep. And I already mentioned it. I don't buy into the story of dad is going to be tired. He's going to slam 300 or 500 milligrams of caffeine and just like bear it and get through the day. That's a recipe for breaking yourself. Anxiety, panic, depression, low testosterone, and all the coping problems that come about. So you need to dial in your sleep. This involves getting sunlight in the morning. 10 hours before you go to bed, take out your caffeine. No more of that. 3 hours before bed, smallest meal and stop eating. 2 hours before bed, turn your lights down. We have hue lights in our house that we can turn red. So we go red lights, final 2 hours of the day. If you can't do that, put some blue light blockers on. You can get nice one like Morgan's got and I've got, or you can go on Amazon and just get some red ones for $10. 1 hour before bed, no devices, no TV, no stimulation. Sit with your wife. Talk about what was the best part of your day today. What was the hardest part of your day? What are you excited for tomorrow? Just like you used to on the phone when you first met. You do this, your nervous system is going to come down. You might add in a really hot shower before bed because that's going to put your body into cooling mode overnight. Your body temperature is going to drop while you're sleeping. You're going to get more restful sleep. This is how I went from 1 minute of deep sleep a night, which was killing me, 9 hours of sleep, to 90 minutes of deep sleep a night. And where I can get 7 hours of sleep now with sleep disruptions with 3 kids and still wake up at 4:30, 4:45, 5 and hit the day. So 1, you got to cultivate your physical health. 2, you can't neglect sleep. 3, what other biohacks do we need? Well, one, you should be doing breath work. It's a free and easy tool. It may be the most important tool that you ever learn because it's going to give you direct access to the state that your nervous system is in. When you inhale, sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight. When you exhale, parasympathetic, rest and relaxation. You can cultivate that state of coherence, that centeredness that my coworkers were drawn to. The centeredness that calms the whole house. You can get out of the chronic anxiety. When you're in stress, you lose 80% of the blood flow to the thinking areas of your brain. It literally makes you dumb and reactive. But when you use your breath to recenter, you get that back. All of a sudden, you're not reactive. You're able to respond. You're able to see what's happening to the person in front of you. You're able to step out of the drama triangle that we work with the Order of Kings, the role of the victim, or the aggressor, the reactor, the bully, or the rescuer, or needing rescuing from your phone or anything like that, and into the realm of creator. How I respond in this moment will change the outcome of this. Here's what I'm going to choose to do instead. Breathwork. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. What else can I give you? Meditation. Because if you learn how to meditate well, you start to see all of these things, all of these thoughts, all of these stories that you're believing in your head, which are from the mind, and the emotions that you're experiencing are reflections of mind in the body, that anxiety, that stress that you're numbing out to, that you're falling into these coping patterns that are wrecking your life. They're creating more problems. If you can start to see the stories and you can look at them like you're looking into an aquarium, like that's a really interesting fish, without allowing yourself to be dictated by the fish, without allowing the fish to run your life, well, then you can start doing that in the moment with your wife, with your kids. You know that there's this dragon that you need to face, like you're bleeding out money in your bank accounts, whatever it is, and you've been avoiding that. Well, all of a sudden you can see that. There's an interesting thing. Okay. How interesting. You can take the emotional response out of it, the reaction out of it, and you can start to act appropriately. All of a sudden, your thoughts, your words, your stories, they don't have to be what's running the show in your life. All of a sudden, you gain control over them, and you start to be able to write your own story, just like I did at multiple different stages. I saw in that moment of panic. I saw when my wife was pregnant. I saw when I was going to quit my coaching business just a few years ago because I couldn't figure out how to do it, that these were just stories that I was choosing to believe. I could create a different story. I could do something different. And when you do that, you calm your nervous system and you get a control that you never knew was accessible. And you also give that to your kids through your example. And then, okay, so let's go for one more. So we've got cultivating your health. We've got sleep. We've got breathwork. We've got meditation. The fifth biohack or tool is going to be the tool of emotional release or emotional alchemy. And we could talk about emotional freedom technique. You can just tap on your collarbone and talk through something that you're feeling right now. Like, I'm so stressed about this money thing. Yeah, I'm so stressed about it. And you know what? It's okay. I'm going to allow myself to feel this. And even though that's there, I know that it's going to be okay and that I can do this. So we went through acknowledging the emotion, allowing it to be, and realigning to really a different emotion, a different frame that brings us power instead of traps us in feeling like a victim. While we tap, it downregulates the fear center, the amygdala. So one, we're talking about it. We talked about how the emotion can resolve in 90 seconds if we acknowledge it, if we address it. 2, we use the physical body to actually calm the nervous system. 3, maybe you bring breathwork in and you do calm and ground the nervous system even further. 4, you do that every single day with any stressors that you have coming up. You're going to break free from those cycles faster than you can imagine. You put all of these things together, you change the default state of your nervous system, you change the default state of your brain. You get out of that closed off monkey mind of stress and into what's called the awakened mind state, connecting beta, stress brainwaves, through alpha, which is the brainwave of flow, through theta and delta, which we think of as brainwaves of REM sleep and deep sleep, but they're also the brainwaves of psychedelic experience. That's a cool thing, but deep connection. Not just to each other, but the entire universe. That the brainwaves that we see in people receiving energy healing work and giving energy healing work, because they are the brainwaves of deep healing in the body. All of a sudden you have access to that, an expanded awareness, an expanded ability to actually connect with your wife, your kids, and life in front of you. Just because you're doing this work every single day, tapping, breathing, meditating, focusing on that which you love above all else, and you're taking care of your physical body. There's studies that show that you can reduce cortisol by 25% in an hour of doing a tapping session. That's 25% reduction in your stress. There's studies that show in 2 weeks of meditation, you can hypertrophy, that's to grow the dentate gyrus in your brain. That's an emotional responsiveness center. You can grow realistically your capacity to handle unexpected events and chaos in life by 23% just by meditating every day for 2 weeks. This stuff is insane, and it drives me nuts that we're not teaching this to our kids, our boys.
Me as well. It's freaking insane that not everybody knows meditation, breathwork, cold exposure, especially EFT. Have you seen the video where they do like just 5 minutes of tapping and it changed the blood work? Where they're in the lab looking at the blood work in a microscope, doing 5 minutes of emotional freedom technique, and then the blood work completely changed. It's insane that we are not teaching this to our kids. I totally agree 100% with you. And those 5 biohacks are amazing. I've been doing them for so many years. If you just could give us, for anybody listening there, a tip for starting meditation, the Headspace app. I love it. I heard about it from Timothy Ferriss. Been using it I used it for a full year. Then he spoke to Sam Harris. He came out with an app, Waking Up, which was amazing. And I've been doing Vipassana meditation for over 10 years now. And the Waking Up app actually made me even better as a meditator. Like, it was amazing. What would you suggest for someone who want to get started with meditation and breathwork? You know, you have Wim Hof free videos online, but what would you suggest just to start for someone listening?
I would start with the circular breathing first, coherence breath.
What's that?
It's the foundational technique that we do inside of Order of Kings, and it's the one that everybody can come back to. 6-second inhale through the nose and a 6-second exhale through the nose. No pauses at the top or the bottom. This generates that coherence effect that I talked about in the heart. You can also put your hand over your heart, or just imagine that you're breathing through your heart. That deepens or amplifies the coherence, the centering effect in the nervous system. There is no breathwork technique that exists that induces coherence to the same degree that this technique does. Box breath is great. It's different. Wim Hof, great. It's different. If you want to start with any of these practices, start there. That is going to be the breathwork technique that you're going to use in this samurai transition ritual that we talked about as well, because there's nothing that awakens emotional connection and empathy like this technique. That's where I would begin. And in terms of
Sorry, just to clarify, so 6 seconds in, 6 seconds out without any pauses in the in and out breath. And for how long do you do that?
So this gets into the shift, sustain, reset framework that we use. You want to create a long-term shift in your nervous system, minimum of 3 minutes. I would say max 20.
All right.
You want to create a temporary shift that's going to last through your upcoming podcast or meeting or whatever. 1 breath to 3 minutes. You want to reset in the moment. Shit's going down, kids throwing food on the floor, your wife is having a hard day. You just drop into that breath while things are going.
Yeah, love that one. And for some rapid fire questions, are you up for it?
Yeah, let's go. I got 9 minutes. Let's do it.
All right, 9 minutes. What's the book you've gifted most often to other dads or men you coach?
Actually, simple. The Way of the Superior Man by David Deida.
David Deida. Love that one. If you had a giant billboard that every dad in the world would see, what would it say?
I'm not going to say breathe. I'm going to say slow down. You are a human being, not a human doing. And that's what your kids need from you.
I would have loved to read this billboard during this summer. I really needed to read, just slow the fuck down more. But I'm coming there. And next one, what's a small purchase under $100 that had that's had the biggest impact on your family life or health during the last like 6 months or so?
Last 6 months, I got
Yeah.
this Camuso on. It's a little breathwork tool. It's a little straw. These guys got the drag just right. Perfect. So when you exhale, there's a little bit of pressure. And so even as a breathwork practitioner of 8 years now, I still forget to breathe in the moment sometimes. So having this on reminds me. And anytime I'm stressed, I used to smoke. I can then go hand to mouth with this thing and take our long exhales through this. This thing's awesome.
I liked it because it's small enough to just like have as a necklace around your neck. I bought this Boss Rutan mouthpiece, which also like trains your breath, but it's too big to carry around. So I just like have it here on my desk. But love that little necklace you have. And if you could text an SMS text to your younger self one message about fatherhood, what would it be?
You get to create any story that you want.
Love that. And last one, what's a belief you've changed your mind about in the last 5 years when it comes to being a man?
What I've changed my mind about is what Order of Kings is. There are different stages of masculinity. There's different stages of fatherhood. We've got stage 1, which is 1950s version. The man's the head of the house. Everybody else just does what he says because it's about power and control. And then there was the feminist movement that tried to break that and took a step back. They abdicated their leadership. They handed more to their women. They became more in touch with their emotions, more go with the flow, and significantly less dependable. We'd rather sit on the couch and happy wife, happy life it instead. I used to think that the second way was the path, was becoming more feminine was the way as men. But I now see that that's not the truth. The truth and what's really needed of us is to take the best of both. The positive qualities of both our masculine and feminine nature, our ability to be assertive and strong and uphold boundaries and radiate like the motherfucking sun, and our ability to work with our emotions, to be more adaptable, to go with the flow, and to get down and to love the shit out of the people in front of us and nurture. It's both. And that is the way of the king, is that balance. It's yin and yang, chaos and order, masculine and feminine balanced. That is the true way that we need to follow and to be open to, well, what is needed of me in this moment? Do I need to uphold this boundary with my son? Or do I need to get down with him and just love him right now? And then we can talk about it later. It's the same thing with our wife. Do we need to be in resistance? Do we need to bicker over this right now? Or do I need to let this go and love the shit out of her? And then we can talk about it later and laugh about this. That's the biggest thing that I think I've changed my mind on.
Beautiful, Rob. Thank you so much for being here. I know this will resonate with so many men out there. And looking at the stats for this podcast, it's weirdly like 50% women also listening to this podcast, even though we focus on the men's perspective, but they want to know what's going on with us. What the hell is going on with men nowadays, and masculinity, and appreciate everything you've been sharing here. You've been super inspiring and engaged, and love the stories you brought to the table. For anyone listening, how can they engage with you, get to know more about your work? What do you do? Can people join some form of program? What's up?
Absolutely. Easiest place to find me is on Instagram, The Uncommon Dad, and everything that you need is going to be there. You just go to the link in my bio if you want to get involved in Order of Kings. I've given you a lot of wisdom today. Order of Kings, we're actually going to train it. I send you that training every single day on your phone. You check in the Brotherhood. We meet every single week, both one-on-one and in mentorship, so that you can develop these skills over the course of 16 weeks. You want to get involved. You want to make real change. You want to be that transitional character in just 16 weeks instead of trying to figure it out on your own over the course of weeks and months and years. That's where you're going to go. I got free mini trainings as well. I got Jedi Father training, which is the 30-day version of that. Everything is there. Just shoot me a message on Instagram with whatever your question or challenge is. And I keep this thing personal, even though my account's exploded the last couple of years. I will respond to you because that's what I'm here for.
Yeah. And I'll check out the content as well. You bring so much value on your Instagram page. Check it out. And Thank you so much for this sit down. Like, we didn't go through even half of the questions I had. Let's keep them for the next one, shall we?
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, brother.
Thank you, Morgan.